Welcome to Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. Thank you so much for tuning in. Debbie Bell, who was responsible for our original logo design on Dial the Gate, and a friend of mine that goes back years, she is joining us in this pre-recorded episode. But before we get started, if you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click that like button. It helps the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click on that subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes for the live interviews. This is a pre-recorded episode, and as such, the moderators will not be taking any questions from the live audience, just so you know. Debbie is joining us pre-recorded so that I could get the artwork together so you can see just what kind of stuff she does. She's a pretty amazing human being and Stargate fan, so let's go ahead and bring her in. Debbie Bell of Graphic Arts Studio, the woman responsible for bringing my logo into being as well, and a longtime friend and a huge Stargate fan. Debbie, I'm so glad that we finally got you on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, David. Thank you. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that, well, there are many things about your talents that blow me away, but one of the things that so impressed me back in the day, I just want to dive right into this, was your concept for magazine covers of like you'd find at a Barnes and Noble or on
Yes.
in a bodega, some real and some imaginary. What was your idea for coming up with it? What was your inspiration for doing this? Have you done other magazine covers before for
Yes,
different things?
as a graphic designer, I've been doing print forever.
Yeah.
So when a group of us got together who met on Gate World,
Yeah.
and we formed our own little group, and we decided to go to our very first convention together in Vancouver, which was, I think, 2006. Everybody was going to bring things to be signed. And I thought, well, that's really cool. I don't really have mementos and stuff, and I don't really need more photos of whatever. But it might be fun if I combined what I do for a living, which I love, graphic design, with my love of Stargate. So I just talked to my friends, and I came up with a variety of ideas. Some of them I got from my fellow Stargate fans at Gate World, and some I came up with on my own of these parody magazine covers. Poor Time magazine got abused a lot, but that incorporated the characters, because I thought it would be fun, it would be interesting, it would be something that would make them happy, that somebody delved into it and did something fun for their character. And I might get a better reaction from them when I was
Right.
signed. These people I had never met before, because I had never met any of these actors or producers or directors or anybody. And I thought, what am I going to say to these people? I have no clue, except I'm a big fan and, I love the show. So I started out with some things from our group on Gate World, and then it just developed into lots of different magazine covers that I stole a lot of things from.
Borrowed.
Borrowed a lot of ideas from. Well, like one of my favorites was I took a GQ magazine and made it Guald Quarterly. And rewrote an actual covers headlines specifically for the gold, and it was a lot of fun. Turned them into something that was related to Stargate. It was just a fun way of interacting with all of the people we were going to meet at the shows or at the conventions, because I went to 3-4 of them, I guess. I can't remember now. I remember 2006 because that was the first one that I went to, I think.
What was your best reaction over the years?
Oh, I had a lot of good reactions. Well, I originally started doing these for the girls on Gate World.
Yeah, for a laugh.
Because of Michael Shanks and Daniel Jackson characters. So one of the women had written some fun things about Daniel Jackson, so I put together a Daniel Jackson piece. And he seemed to find that bizarre and fun. He wanted to know who the heck was doing this.
This is the one where he was being tortured, right?
Yeah,
The Guide
sorry
to
about
Wumping
that. Wumping, I
Archaeologists.
think we called it. Yeah, Wumping, Guide to Wumping. And, it was just for fun and everybody will get a laugh at it. So he had some pretty good reactions. He always reacted well to everyone. Michael was always very good about interacting with the fans and looking pleased, whether he was or not. And I have to say, Amanda Tapping was the most gracious. She is the most gracious person. And I did a Time magazine cover for her where I gave Samantha Carter the Nobel Prize. I thought she deserved it. And it was about wormholes. It was wormholes in the heavens, I think. And that was my most favorite one to do because not only did I put the most effort into it, I researched, I went and actually looked this up for you, David. I researched the episode Upgrades. And
Yes.
she had an equation on her screen in the show. And I took that equation and put it in the background of the magazine cover with a bunch of other things related to wormholes, so intricate and ridiculous. And she was just blown away that I had put so much time and effort into something like this. And I said, I just wanted to do something for the character, but she really loved it. Plus, when they really liked something, I always took 2 covers with me so I could give one to them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to, it's like with the equation, if you're going to go out of your way to do something, do it right. Make it accurate.
Back then, I think we had the episodes memorized.
Yeah.
So it was easy to go back and pull things from specific episodes and tie it into some theme, whether it was, Sam and wormholes or the Gary Chalk cover.
Yes.
He had a magazine cover too for Time, which I translated via Google, so very bad translation, into Russian. That was a lot of fun because I think it said something like greatest Russian hero or something like I forget what it was, and Time was written in Russian on the top, and so it was just a total parody. But he loved it because his wife was Russian, and he said, "This is fabulous," and I gave him a copy, and he said, "I'm going to take this home and get my wife to read this to me." He thought that was fun. So actually, it was the secondary characters, and the guest stars who were really blown away by having something specifically designed for them.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun. And let me think. I have a zillion stories because they were all so wonderful.
Bruce Woloshins are some of my favorite.
Oh, well, that was because, me and special effects, that's my love.
Correct. Yeah.
So, he got one every year he went to a convention.
You made a new one.
I was going to make him a superstar boy. He was a hero in my book. In fact, the first one I think I did was the National Enquirer cover, something about Stargates not being real or something.
Worm hoax, yeah.
Fake hoax, where, fake gates found at the studio and stuff. And he said he took that home and put it on his refrigerator, and his family teased him endlessly about his one fan.
Aww.
Who made such fun of it. But he had such a good sense of humor. Yeah. And that one year, a couple of years he did this for several different fans, but one year, my friend Jenny Smith and I, he gave us the tour of Rainmaker.
Yes.
And so, he had to have something special because he went out of his way to give, 4 or 5 of us let us hold the original Stargate, film.
Oh, the master. Yes.
Master copy.
Children of the Gods. Yeah.
We were totally blown away. It was one of the most wonderful experiences I had in regards to the whole Stargate thing. So, he was always a hero in my book because of the special effects and because I do graphic design. Now I don't do what he does, but I could certainly appreciate it.
It's the same kind of creativity. It's the same kind of openness in your mind. So
because when we get together, we could talk about how they did things, and I understood, what they were doing. I might not work in that software, but I understood totally what he was talking about, and that was so enjoyable to me. And it was an aspect that I think a lot of people take for granted about a TV show: the special effects, the music, all these big things that go into it that they just figure that's always there, but the rest of us who work in the industry to some degree or another realize the value of.
Correct.
I mean, it was always so fascinating to me. So, he was very kind to all of us, giving us studio tours and just being such a sweetheart. Coming to the Gate World dinners
Right.
and talking to
Yeah.
fans.
Went out of his
Yeah,
way. The ones that I think are the most meta are the Stargate SG-1 Atlantis covers that
yeah,
you put
they were
people
fun.
on. So it's about the show, but it's people who probably were never going to get featured on the cover, and you put them on the cover. You put Bruce on the cover. You put Martin Garrow on the
Yeah.
cover.
Oh,
Who
Martin
writes
was
this
funny.
stuff?
Martin really was funny. That was a picture. Yeah, that was a great photograph taken by Sarah.
I think that was
It's
our
amazing,
second
amazing the things
dinner.
that people said
Yeah.
at the Gate World dinner. Yes, he held it up. That was the book that we had done. One of the first things we had done. He was holding a copy of one of the first things because apparently it was notorious. And
It was.
we just tried to have fun with it. We just all wanted to, I don't know, be part of the experience in our own little way. Because we took the set tours.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite memories was sitting on the Atlantis steps
Hmm.
with John Smith, and
Hmm.
just, it was really unbelievable to be doing that, to be talking to him and to be sitting on the set and to learn so much about sets, which I didn't
Hmm.
know, which took some of the mystery away, I admit,
Right.
once you actually go and see it. But it was really fun. So yeah, meeting Martin was great. There were just so many people. I would troll their blogs, and get quotes and pull them out and try to put them into the covers and do things that they would recognize to make it more fun for them.
One of I think the my favorites, and I know it was his as well, was Cliff, and we've
Oh,
since lost him.
yes, so
Um,
sad. That broke my heart.
yeah, absolutely. Your GQ cover of him, you did a couple of GQs, one with Camulus and definitely one with Ball. Um, Pimp Your Hatak, and the greatest five
Yes,
system lords of all time, looking evil with less effort. I
yes.
it's just
There was a whole
it's
series
clever.
of how to do it books back in the day. Ooh, I should remember the name of it. I took it and did a parody on it, and I called Seshat was my screen name
Yes,
at Gate World, so I called it Seshat Press.
yes.
And then I did a whole bunch of these mock books on, how to be the best system lord and all these things. And it was Pimp Your Hatak was, yeah, that was pretty funny. I enjoyed that. There were a lot of fun things in there. But my favorite story about Cliff is not one of the ones I shared with you.
Oh,
But when I did a whole series of covers just for our group, our little group,
yeah.
where I took each woman and a photo from them at the event or in front of the gate or whatever, and I put them on Stargate Atlantis magazine or Stargate magazine. And I took one of myself with Cliff and Michael because they did a double photo shoot. And I remember I always tried to walk up, sounds so silly, but I always tried to walk up with something to say
Yeah.
because I wanted to make them laugh. So when we did the photo shoot, the photo op, I walked up and I looked at each of them and I said, "Oh, good versus evil. What's a girl to do?" And they laughed and they laughed. And I got in the middle and we did the shoot, 3 seconds with the stars. And Cliff leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Bad is better." It was so sweet. It was so funny. And I put that on a Stargate magazine with a good versus evil thing on the front and made them sign it the next year. And it was those silly inside jokes that really, just added extra fun to the whole thing.
You came up with your own way of encapsulating the convention experience, and
Yes,
use
I
your
mean, it wasn't just
creative.
covers. We did, I used to make, what do you call them? Tags for people.
Yeah,
The
I have one. I asked you to make one for me for Press
personal
Pass, and it
icon.
worked for years. People were like, "Oh, your press, go in."
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
I made them for all my friends in our little group called the Hussies. And we
That's
all had
right.
them. And I made them for people who went to conventions I didn't even go to, but who were my friends.
Of course.
And one year, I remember I had a button maker from something I
Yeah.
did, the graphic design, I don't remember, some client. And I made dozens of buttons based on the covers. I redesigned them as buttons with the favorite
Yeah.
character. And I walked around that whole convention and I said, "Who's your favorite character?" to the other people attending. And then I would reach in the bag and pull out, a Jack button or, a Carter button or whatever.
I have Martin Wood.
It was, yes, it was my way of, believe it or not, I'm very shy. It was my way of interacting with people. Because although I had the friends that we went with, I wanted to meet some of the other fans and of all ages who would go to
Right.
these things. So it gave them a little memento for nothing, just for being there, and we could share our love for the show. So that made it a lot of fun. I still have some of those somewhere in a box.
I loved Martin Wood with his
Oh,
his
Martin.
expression. He always insists on making the silliest
So
face, and you
funny.
went to town with it.
Yes, I tried to. He was so great in person, though. His stories and oh, I would love to sit down with him and just talk about anything he's working on, because so interesting. So
He
interesting.
doesn't have. I mean, I don't know if you've seen his interviews on Dial the Gate, but it's all there. The
Yes.
memory on this man has not faded a day, and you just have to wind him up and let him go.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's
I had to go
just
back and check my notes, but Martin would not have to do that. Martin
right.
Martin just remembers everything. So that made it, really special to meet the people that we as the fans would think of as behind the scenes, even though they're the ones actually creating the show.
Right.
Because so many people think, oh, well, the actors make up the lines as they go along. Well, no, somebody has to come up with this idea and write it and produce it. And, there's music and effects and all this other stuff.
A lot of elements that
That to
go
me
in.
was just, it was heavenly to be able to meet all of the creatives behind this project, and then when it became Atlantis, and then when it moved on, and it just, being universe, and it was so much fun
Hmm.
to have met these people in person and to feel like, you had even the tiniest connection to the things you saw on the screen, that you knew what it was like behind the scenes, at least to me.
Yeah.
I mean, initially, of course, we would go to conventions and think, oh, I want to meet this actor or this actress, or, ooh, I'm so impressed. And once you meet them, they're lovely, but they're people,
Correct.
and they were all extremely gracious. I never met any of the actors who was not extremely gracious to fans, even when they were really tired.
Hmm.
Or I remember, I think Michael came to one convention like the day after his son was born. I mean,
Yeah.
incredible how he could do that. He was exhausted, but he still came and did the whole bit. And I thought, that's dedication to keeping the fans happy.
Yeah.
I was impressed
Absolutely.
by all of them,
And he didn't
because
have to do that, but he
have
wanted
to.
to, meet us, and he wanted to continue to put food on his table. So
Exactly right. And they
yeah.
did it in very gracious ways. There were
Yeah.
so many kind outreaches to the fans that I witnessed. From the most shy fan to the most outrageously crazy one, they were kind to everyone, from John D. Smith all the way down. It was
Absolutely.
incredible,
Yeah.
you know. Um, the one thing I wanted to mention, because I really want to bring it up because it was one of my very favorite memories, was the things that I did for Thor, the puppet, the Asgard.
Morris Chapelaine.
Yes, and Jenny Cassidy.
Yes.
I did not. I had researched before I went, and I had done a cover for Thor in
Yes.
relation to Sam, but I had never met them, and it turned out Thor came to a convention and did photo ops. So we did this giant photo op with Thor, all the women who were all part of our little group, and this very sweet. We had to wait for everybody to show up in the hallway, and this very sweet girl, to me, because I'm older, was talking to us and keeping us entertained while we were waiting for our whole group to show up. And we had just finished the tour with Bruce at Rainmaker, so we all had our Hawaiian shirts on in honor of Bruce,
Right.
because he was the Hawaiian
Yep.
shirt guy. So we all had our Hawaiian shirts on, and we were waiting in this photo op line for Thor, which was actually very short compared to the other photo op lines. And this very sweet girl came over and she was talking to us. And, what do we think about Thor and all this stuff? And I said, well, I just love Thor, especially since this season he's in more often, and he has more expressions in his face.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just this puppet that you see as a puppet. He almost smiles, and he raises his eyebrows and expressions with his eyes and stuff. And she looked at me, and she looked just gobsmacked, and she said, I'm the one who does his eyes. It was Jenny Cassidy, who was one of the puppeteers that did Thor with Morris. And I was blown away because I had no idea. I was talking to someone who was connected to it. She went and brought Morris over. So that's how I met Morris. And, I had them sign a Thor cover and then the next year, when we went to another convention in Vancouver, I had a cover design just for him. That the Thor Traveler magazine.
Asgard Traveler.
Yeah.
Big splash.
Asgard Traveler. Yes. And he saw me in the hallway, and I remember he said, "Oh, here's the I don't know whether, I don't think he said crazy lady. I hope not." He said something along the lines of, "Oh, here's the lady who does those great covers." And I said, this year I have one just for you. And so they were so sweet. They just really, couldn't believe anybody thought it was worthwhile getting their autographs. And I'm like, but you're Thor.
Correct. You're a part of the process.
You are part of the process besides the wonderful puppet. You create what he does. And that's what I related to when I watched the show. And that's what I was so impressed by. Yep. And that's what I want to say thank you for.
Yep.
And I'm still friends with him on Facebook.
Yes, there you go. See, that's the thing about these events that I love. You create the opportunity for lifelong friendships, coming together and finding people of like minds who appreciate a show for what it is, but we all take away friends.
Yes.
If you're open to some people, they just want to, get their autograph and go, that's fine.
Of course.
But for the rest of us, it's like, I will be connected with you people for the rest of my life, and
I'm still friends with every single one of those ladies from our original group. I still talk to them, we email, we're on Facebook together. Just talking about our lives. We don't have any plans to do any more conventions, but they go to the occasional thing here and there or whatever. And I hear about it, and I'm happy for them. And I met some really wonderful people through Gay World, actually. We met in a Daniel thumping thread. It was,
it was just admiration for an actor, and it turns into friendships that you keep up with for decades.
It's been 17 years or something, that we've been, talking to each other. I met you the first time at one of those conventions.
In a line. Well, I think we got to know each other in a line.
We got to know each other in a line. I remember the line.
Yeah, outside in the cold.
The one where I had my book. Oh, yes, that was a crazy one.
That was great.
Yeah, I brought my book of covers. People must have thought I was insane, but I enjoyed showing the book of covers to people because they were just like, I can't believe you did this. Maybe they all thought I was nuts. I don't know. But it was so much fun to do. And going back and reading my notes about how I created these was so enjoyable. I had forgotten until you asked me to do this, because it really was a very enjoyable time in my life when I got to be creative and use my design instincts and the fun of the show and tie in, all the amusing things I could. I'm no writer, so I was plagiarizing everything, and but borrowing everything. But it was a very enjoyable way to be involved with the show and to be a fan without just swooning over some actor or whatever. I didn't want to do that. Once you meet them all and they're people, and you're like, oh well, you're nice. You're like my neighbor next door. Okay, and we like you, and you do a great job. But then there are all these other people who are involved. And it's overwhelming to think how many people it takes to put together a show like that.
Correct.
I've been watching movies and TV forever, but I really had no idea how much was involved. And being able to go on set tours and talk to the people behind the scenes was a remarkable experience. I was glad I did it.
And you give them a little gift as well with the cover. But how often, really think about it, do you get to put together your work and your fandom? How many jobs can you do that with?
Never done anything like that before.
Right.
I worked for a zillion different clients, but nothing was as personal and as fun to do as coming up with ways to pay tribute to the characters they gave life to
Mm-hmm.
and to the work that they did, like with Bruce or John or Martin or whatever. You really could say thank you in a way that just coming up and saying thank you for the show, we really love it, is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. But this way we could, in our own way, show, because I did covers for other people. I did things they could give to the people they were meeting at, whether it was a photo op or at a Gabriel
Mm-hmm.
dinner or something. And we had wonderful conversations with folks simply because it brought a little extra to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, as well as being gracious anyway, they saw you made an effort, so they made even more of an
Correct.
effort. And you really felt like you got a real experience.
Mm-hmm. In those
Really,
3 minutes of
in those 3
communication,
minutes.
yeah, exactly. It was something to remember. I was so, I always wanted to have you involved in something that I was doing. And when I was working at Stargate Command, we were doing a shakeup of our social media, and I was like, I think Debbie needs to do a stint.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was the closest to the covers I ever got to do again. I've never done anything like that since for anything. I mean, I do a lot of personalized things for family. In fact, some of the fans I met at the events had me do personalized Time magazine covers for them.
Right.
Their family members and things. I loved it. I never charged anybody. I just said, give me something from your country or whatever, that typifies your country to you, a print or something,
Yeah.
or something that says your country. Just, I want to share the experience and learn. And I mean, it was a very good experience. A little intensive, but
I would suspect so. How long would it take to do a typical cover?
oh, not long. If I had, the hardest part was coming up with how to tie in. I would have to research their
Mm-hmm.
characters, storyline, and the most recent episodes, and maybe pull a quote or something. If there was
Mm-hmm.
something that fed into that, like I was doing Elizabeth Weir leadership things because leadership was her big thing. So I was trying to make fun, that way, and then trying to find something. But once I had something I knew I could parody, and I did some research, it just all flowed together.
The Wee Baby Turtles one is probably my favorite. That is so
Carson,
adorable because it's a
Carson on
specific
Reptiles
reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought it to life.
Yeah,
So,
I love that. I love the ones that really you could laugh at.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was so afraid they would think I was being serious when all of these just it's just humor, folks. It's just humor. I know it sounds weird, but it gives me a chance to express my creativity and show
That's
you,
right.
it's not like I believe these things exist,
No,
okay.
it's a
All of
mode of
them.
expression,
Yeah, all of them.
So,
I think were really, we had really good times talking to everybody because I think I met everybody main who appeared at conventions,
mhm.
obviously. I never got to go to a convention.
I don't think you have one for Rick.
No, I never got to meet Rick. I
Yeah.
never did a cover for Rick because I never went to a convention
Yeah,
where I was going to
GateCon.
meet him. And because of his being so famous,
Mhm.
I mean, some of them asked me to send them a cover later or something if I met someone, if I didn't have an extra cover, and I would, I would just send it off to their agent or whatever
Yeah.
so they can have it. But I never wanted to impose upon Rick in any way. I did have a couple of fans go to conventions that I did not attend, and they took covers that I made for people I was never going to be able to meet and got them signed for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's
a few.
great.
Yeah. But I was sorry. I never got to meet Rick. RDA was obviously the one to get, and he wasn't doing conventions at that time. And when he started doing them, he was doing some with Amanda in England. He went out
Mhm.
to do hers, and I couldn't do that. So, there was no way that was going to happen.
So no conventions ever again? No I mean, if one comes along, I mean,
I've
the
thought
right
about
one?
it. I have thought about it, trust me. But it just hasn't worked out work-wise.
Okay.
that I've been able to go. I mean, I would love to go back to Vancouver. It was so
Hmm.
beautiful. We went up to Whistler. We went all over. It was so beautiful. I would love to see that again. Been only the twice,
Hmm.
and I did the Chicago one, and then I did
Yes.
a couple other things. I did a Tampa one, which is of course closer to where I am, when some of the characters were appearing
Right.
at other things. So I actually went to a Star Trek convention once, so I could
Oh,
meet a few people who had done crossover episodes
yeah.
and or not episodes, but crossovers, different sci-fi shows.
Yes.
So I got to meet people that way. That's how I met Carmen Argenziano. He gave a wonderful speech. It was a small convention. I sat right up front and got to hear him talk about the Actors Studio. It's fascinating. And I had a cover I had done for him and had that. He was so impressed, the way they act impressed. And he was so sweet. And he couldn't believe I come just for that, just for this thing. I said, yeah, I love Star Trek, but, I'm really a Stargate fan. And,
Yeah.
and this is why I can't. And he insisted that another fan take our picture. He was so sweet.
He
I
was a
still have
great
that photo.
guy.
I loved him. I
Yeah.
really loved him. I miss him as an actor.
Yeah.
I really do. He was a great guy. But
Agreed.
you meet so many nice people that way. People I'd never have any other way of ever meeting for any reason, except you run into them in a coffee shop somewhere if you live in California, I guess. Or
Right. You may bump into him. Yeah.
but so conventions are fun. They're a different breed of things, but they're fun. And I just wanted to find a way to make it fun for me and the group of people I was with. That's how it started out. We just wanted to make it fun for us, and give that to the other fans.
Well, I am so grateful that you did and that you put your creativity out there and spent the time to make something truly
Oh,
exceptional and cool and something
you're
that
very
the
kind.
fans we get it. The
Yeah.
the little references. It's
Yeah.
just it,
I
it
think
makes
anybody
us
who's seen the
laugh.
show would get it, or if it's their favorite character and they read it, they recognize the quotes or the silly jokes that are in it. But I mean, even after all these years, it brings back memories. If I read when I went back and looked at them again and I read a cover and I think, oh yeah, I remember that episode.
Hmm.
That was fun. That was really cool. And it brings back the joy that we had from the show and having so many friends together because we would watch the show all over the country and yet we would get together on Gate World and talk about it.
Hmm.
So it was a real shared experience, the way a convention is a shared experience with other people. So that's what I think everyone was looking for. It's not everybody's cup of tea to go to a convention. I
Right.
never thought about going until that very first one I ever did was that 2006 VanCon, because I never thought I'd go to a
Well, you made
convention.
friends. It's like, well,
Yeah,
let's meet
we made
them.
friends first, and then I felt comfortable going with these 6, 7 other women
Mhm.
from everywhere in the country and England and New Zealand, and
Right.
all get together and go.
Yeah.
And that was a really joyful time. So
Absolutely.
I thought about going again to one. I just there was one in Chicago not that long ago that
Hmm.
I
Yep.
really thought about going to, but it just didn't work out at
Well,
the
as
time.
long as you keep your options open, something may come
Yeah,
along. It's like, you know what? That may work with the schedule. So,
maybe. And
yeah.
I look completely different, so it's like a whole new person all over again.
But, you know.
And now I'm no longer a brunette. So
If someone wants to procure your services, how can they get in touch with you
oh,
professionally?
my email is my business name, studio at tampabay.rr.com.
Okay.
That's me. And I do in my real life job, I do a lot of business to business stuff.
Okay.
And like I do work right now for an economic development corporation. And it's fulfilling in its own way. I've worked for advertising agencies and all, but the most work I've done has been my own company, freelance on my own for the last 25 years, 30 years, something like that. It's been good. It's been a good ride.
It's
I enjoy
always
it.
great to do something that you love and get
It's,
paid for it.
I know
It's always
people
great.
use that as a cliche, but it's true. If you love what you do, it's not work.
That's exactly right.
Work.
So
And, of course, a lot of other stuff comes with it, like accounting and schmoozing and the spelling.
taxes.
But
Ugh.
the other taxes, we don't talk about that. But yeah, the actual part of what I do that I love, the design, never gets old,
Absolutely.
ever.
And for the
So,
dog people in the crowd, can we see Zoe one more time before we
oh,
go?
she went. Oh, she's sleeping here at my feet.
Ah.
I
Hi,
know.
Zoe.
Oh, there. Oh, you're so silly. Oh, she's
Ah.
such a silly. She doesn't want to come out. Come on. Come on. No.
No, she's not in for it. She's like, I'll just wag my
She's
tail.
like, no,
She says, I'm getting old, Mama.
I'm getting old. I'm getting old
Ah.
like you. I got gray hair like you. That's right.
Ah. Yeah, they're with us for a little bit, and then that's it. It's the saddest part of
Yeah,
it.
I
So,
know. Oh, David, it's been so nice
Debbie,
talking to
this
you.
has been great.
I
So,
I'm was very honored that you wanted to include me with the list of luminaries of all
you
sorts.
are in the credits for
Fans
every
included.
episode. You
So,
you are responsible for the bones of the show, which is our logo. So, and I appreciate you
but
for that. And I
proud to be
wasn't going
involved
to
in any
do
way.
this without having some kind of element from you involved.
Oh, thank you. I'm
So,
proud to be involved in any way because, as I have said many times, it may not be around, but Stargate was and remains my favorite sci-fi show. So it's very touching to be connected to it, even in a small way. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. My thanks to Debbie Bell for joining me in this episode. It's wonderful to have her back. And if you have some professional work for her, you can reach out to her at studio@tampabay.rr.com. com. And thanks so much for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed what you saw, please share it with a Stargate friend. We have merchandise available to you. We're brought to you every week for free, and we do appreciate you watching. If you want to support our show, buy yourself some of our themed swag. We're now offering t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies for all ages, as well as cups and other accessories in a variety of sizes and colors at dialthegate.com/merch. Checkout is fast and easy. You can use your credit card or PayPal, and thanks so much for your support. I couldn't do this job without my amazing production team, including Linda, Gate, Gabber, Fury, as well as my moderators, Summer, Tracy, Jeremy, Reese, and Anthony. You guys make the show possible. And big thanks to Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web. He maintains our website. We have new shows that are going to be coming out. I'm still organizing them right now, but the first information will be posted on dialthegate.com. So keep an eye on that over there. My name is David Reed. Thanks again so much to Debbie for joining us, and for Adam for joining us earlier. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I'll see you on the other side.